Good morning!
Good morning, everybody!
Welcome to another week of wild and wacky chit-chats with the twins. I am Krista.
And I am Kara, and we're on season 2, episode 25.
Nice!
And what did we call today's show?
Something about
What
receiving.
do you love about not receiving?
Like something about receiving or not receiving.
Yes.
And this is so fun because we actually haven't been on here together for a really long time. So,
do you want me to share us out?
Yeah, sure. I was gonna
See what's happening.
Well, you can. So, yeah, what does that even mean? What are you refusing? What is it called again?
What do you love about
refusing?
What do I love about not receiving? What do I love about not receiving?
Oh, that's too funny. And we're in a 30-day challenge in La Resistance right now, which is our private group that you're more than welcome to join us in. We have a free challenge where we say a question from Access Consciousness 30 times a day for 30 days, and it is how weird can I be and how weird can I be today and how much fun can I have. And that requires a whole lot of receiving, let me tell you, because what's come up for me is all the places that I've been refusing to receive, because to truly be you, to truly be what lights you up and expands your world, sometimes
you gotta receive.
You gotta receive other people looking at you like you're some sort of freak show, like you are, you're staring at an accident waiting to happen or already happened, and people are, it's shocking to other people because we live in this beautiful little society where you always talk about normal, like the normal thing to do, the normal way to be, and they said you should do this and they said you should do that, and anything that's not doesn't fit into this perfect little reality can make you look really weird. And so you do have to be willing to receive that. And what I've really found for me is that when I'm not willing to receive, sometimes it can feel easier to just to fit in and say what people want to hear, and not that that's a wrong thing either. Sometimes that is the easy thing to do because it's also about not telling people things that they're not ready to hear. But for me, following my path of lightness, it's easy to for stuff to just kind of fly out of your mouth, and it feels good and it feels light in the moment. But then often what happens after that is we do go into this heavy judgment of ourselves. And is it even ours? What we learned in Access Consciousness is that 99.999% of all of our thoughts, feelings, and emotions do not belong to us. So this judgment that we're feeling of ourselves, or this wrongness for just being us, it doesn't even belong to us. And it might belong to the earth, it might belong to another person, with a body, without a body, it doesn't matter.
But the thing is, too, it feels very, very real, so it can be very easy to buy as your own.
And then we go into all these stories about why we feel a certain way, and then everything piles up and we solidify it instead of simply just receiving it with no point of view.
Morning, Rose.
Hi, ladies.
Good morning, Kelly. Nice to see you guys on here.
And you had talked about that in our private group the other day, about that whole receiving things, and it's okay, I'm willing to receive, and then you receive it, and then you're oh, but now I have to do something with it, and it must be significant, and it must be relevant, and it must belong to me. And then,
must need to figure it out.
Yeah.
And drive myself crazy.
And then it turns up as all sorts of body aches and pains. And you talked about anxiety, and I know a lot of people that day could relate to that. It's yeah, you're aware. We're aware beings. We're these energetic sponges that are aware of everything. And if we're not willing to be in question, then we do buy it as ours, and it can turn up as like anxiety, headaches, nausea, like
all
fear.
sorts, aches and pains,
Exactly.
like mood swings, you name it.
So stay in question and be willing to receive everything. So this morning I just was like, what can contribute to everyone today? And in my head I got this book called Right Riches for You by Gary Douglas and Dr. Dane Here, who are the founders of Access Consciousness. And I'm like, no, I don't want to read that book because it's all about money. And I'm like, ew, no.
I know.
No.
I got a lot of weird points of views about money. I bought that book over a year ago, and I've never read it yet.
So I put it away. I looked at it and I read a couple things, and I'm like, no. I went and I put it away, and I'm like, no, I don't want to go there.
Story.
And then last minute, we pulled the book out. And so there's this one section in here about receiving, and it's called Be Willing to Receive Everything. So here we go. If you really wish to have money, you have to be willing to receive everything. And like, not even just money, but if you really wish to have happiness and joy and being you and being weird and all of that, you have to be willing to receive everything. We mean everything, the good and the bad, the beautiful and the ugly. It doesn't mean you have to choose to have that thing in your life, but you have to be willing to receive it. You have to be willing to receive any energy, whatever the energy is. The willingness to receive means you recognize that all things can come to you and they don't stick with you. They keep on going. Does energy ever stop? No. And that's what we were talking about. It's like, instead of just receiving it and letting it flow through and not making it relevant and just staying in question with it, we're like, oh my God! Oh my God, I'm feeling this and it's mine and I must figure out why would I choose this.
And what's wrong with me?
Yeah, that's a huge one. What's wrong with me?
Instantly, there's something wrong with you.
Like, first and foremost, when you find yourself in that moment, be like, oh, I'm doing it. Does it feel light?
Number one,
does it feel light? If it doesn't and you feel heavy, it's a lie. It's not yours.
Your truth will always feel light, and a lie will always feel heavy in your world, even if 100,000 other people are all doing one thing and saying it's the correct thing to do. If it feels heavy in your world, it ain't your truth.
Exactly.
And you're not wrong for that.
Yeah, so who does this belong to? When you don't like something or you think it's wrong, you cut off the energy of that thing. And energy is the source of everything in our lives. It's what creates every possibility. When we're not willing to receive something, we stop the energy from coming to us and we cut ourselves off from the energy of the universe. Everything, and it's like we're putting up these walls and barriers around us. We're shackling ourselves in our own created prison of a world. When we're not willing to receive something, again, we stop energy from coming to us and we cut ourselves off from the energy of the universe. Everything we've decided we can't receive equals the inability to receive money.
Can you read that last sentence again, please?
Yeah. When we're not willing to receive something, we stop energy from coming to us and we cut ourselves off from the energy of the universe. Everything we've decided we can't receive equals the inability to receive money. If you decide, I don't like blondes, then you won't be able to receive money from anyone who has blonde hair. Interesting. If you're a moralist, you won't be willing to receive from people who are not moral. Once you realize that everything is a part of your universe, you get to choose what you would like to have. That's different from rejecting things that you judge as bad or undesirable. When you try to reject things from your universe, you are unable to receive anything, including money. Get the energy of judging someone else or judging yourself. Just right now, get the energy of judging someone or judging you. That might be easier for us. What does it feel like? Does your life expand or contract when you're in the throes of that judgment?
It's like a tight
It's like,
ball.
and it hurts and it requires so much energy. Does your life expand or contract when you're in the throes of that judgment? It contracts. Your life swallows itself up when you judge. You go into your own personal black hole. When you're in that state, what are you willing to receive from others?
Not a whole lot of nothing.
Nothing. You deny the possibility of anyone or anything contributing money to you.
And might I add that money doesn't just mean cash.
Exactly.
Money means many things.
It
money
comes in all
is
forms.
everything. Oh, and there's a little
I
spider.
see that little guy. Even receiving from the little spider, and you guys might see him up in the camera. You have to be able to receive everything, even others' judgments of you. Judgment is something that many people don't want to receive. They don't want people to judge them. They refuse to receive judgment. But a judgment is not a truth. Does someone think you're ugly or beautiful, fat or thin, lazy or a workaholic? So what? It's just their judgment. Every time you're willing to receive somebody's judgment, not make it real, but receive it, you'll receive another $5,000 a year. You've got to be willing to receive judgment as well as everything else if you're going to have money.
Good morning, Felita.
Oh, good morning. So the British entrepreneur Richard Branson, who is one of the richest people in the world, is willing to receive all kinds of judgment. The reality is, if you're going to have lots of money, you're going to receive lots of judgment. People judge you for having money because, as they say in Australia, you cut down the tall poppies. This means you don't want to stand out from the crowd because people will cut you down. People with huge amounts of money get all kinds of judgments. But if they're like Richard Branson and they don't have a judgment about others' judgments being real, they don't cut themselves off from having money. Allow yourself to receive others' judgments. Their point of view about you is nothing but their point of view.
I think when we took foundation from Glenys Hughes, that was one of the biggest things that popped in my mind, because I had asked her something about, like, how do you deal with judgment? How do you, like, take that in? And she's like, you're still buying judgment as real. I'm like, oh.
Because it does feel real.
And it's making somebody else's point of view more relevant than your own. And I'm like, oh, yeah, there is that, isn't there?
It's not real.
It's not real.
It's just
Good morning,
a point of
Laverne.
view. Good morning. So don't resist it or react to it. Don't accept it or reject it. Just say, that's an interesting point of view. A lady told me she was walking down a market street in San Francisco and she saw a homeless man sitting in the street. Her usual reaction would have been to resist him, as well as her own fear that she might become homeless someday. But instead of doing that, she said to herself, I'm going to totally receive him and the fact that I could be sitting there with him. When she did this, her fear of being homeless went poof. She said, I realized that being homeless was a part of my universe, like everything else, but I knew I didn't have to choose to be homeless. One of my favorite examples about the importance of being able to receive everything happened when I was working with a man who had a clothing store in a gay section of Houston. His business wasn't making money, and he said to me, I need some help. I don't know what's going on, but my business is failing. And I went to the store and I looked at his merchandise. Everything looked good. I looked at his books and there wasn't anything wrong. He didn't have everything upside down. I said, tell me about your customers. He said, well, most of them are pretty good, but there are those people who I don't like. I asked, what do you mean those people? He said, you know, those swishy guys. I said, oh, you have a clothing store in a gay section of town and you don't like swishy guys? Who shops in the gay section of town? Do straight men shop in the gay section of town? No. Do the wives of straight guys go to a store in a gay section of town? No. You better decide you like those people. They're your customers. He said, yeah, but I hate it when they hit on me. I asked, do you ever hit on women? He said, well, not when my wife's around. Then I asked, do you expect to get laid when you hit on them? And he said, no, I just like to flirt. I asked, well, what if those guys just like to flirt with you? All the conclusions we have. He said, oh, I could never have that. I replied, well, you're going to have to learn to have it if you want your business to succeed. I'm going to be the swishy man who's hitting on you, and you're going to learn to talk to me. So they role play here. So I started out with, oh, sweetie, those are such beautiful clothes. And he just came unglued. I continued, you know, I'd just love to have sex with you. And he said, oh my God. After about 45 minutes of working with him, he got to the point where he could start to flirt back. He started to enjoy playing with the energy, and within 2 months his business became totally successful. Just because someone flirts with you and you flirt with them doesn't mean you have to have sex with them. It doesn't mean you have to carry through. It doesn't mean anything except that you're willing to receive the energy. Someone asked me, if you're around dangerous people or crazy people, how can you receive from them? I said, that's easy. No, they're crazy. No, they're dangerous. You wouldn't pick them up in your car and you wouldn't take them home. Just be totally aware and have no judgment of them. I don't have judgments about people, and because of that, I can receive money from anyone. This doesn't mean I have to deal with all those people. It simply means that I am willing to receive their energy. I think that's probably good there. So being willing to receive, that's a lot. I might have needed to hear this, Laverne says. That's so odd. And because we have so many points of views. Other people have so many points of views. None of them are real. And so it's like when you're like not willing to receive from other people, it's because you have the point of view that it's wrong or it's bad or it's evil. But if you can just be an allowance of other people and know that they just choose what they choose because they choose what they choose, and not for any good reason, and none of it's relevant or significant, and you can just receive it, then you just get to be more of you. You get to have more of you, and every time you're not willing to receive, you have to cut off parts of yourself, and then you're not being you. You're hiding parts of you behind you just so that you can be right and you can fit in and you can be normal and average and real like everybody else, but you suffer from it because it's a lie to you, because it's not real. Because
it's not real.
None of it is real. And so, like, I know for me, like, I still like live paycheck to paycheck because I do have points of views about what it means to have a lot of money, and I do have points of views about like working hard for your money, and we do have all sorts of.
I know, actually, like, if you want more on money, like there's the How to Become Money workbook, and I know one of my major points of views is I don't want to have to work hard for my money. And it's like, what if you don't have to?
Oh, exactly. But if it's your point of view that you do, then you're not going to have money because you can't receive from everything that's like, oh, you want my money? Oh, you want... No, I can't because...
I got to work hard.
Yeah, it's too easy. Someone like offers to pay for your lunch. And you're like, no, I got it, you know, or give you gas money or... whatever, pays you a compliment.
Compliments, food, you know, like, I know your husband all the time, he'll, like, offer food to Lee and I'll be like, I used to be like, no, and then I realized that it's like, if somebody is offering you something, it's because they want to, and if you say no to that, because of all your weird points of views, like, you are denying them of what actually feels light in their world. I'm like, so now I'm really learning to just say thank you.
It's a really good lesson, actually, because deep down you're like, oh my god, I would love to eat that homemade pizza, but I can't because then I'll look like I'm mooching or whatever, and then it's like,
or I'll be indebted to you, or like all the weird. We have a lot of weird points of view.
We do, and then when you get in a situation like that, you feel bad, and you're like eating your frozen dinner or whatever, whatever, and then they feel bad,
starving,
exactly, and then the person that's offering something to you, they feel like, oh, well, I wonder, like, what's wrong with me? Why would they not want to receive from me? And like, it's like everybody is just like cutting themselves off from what it is that they truly desire, and are like, just because they're not willing to receive. So what aren't you willing to receive?
And what is receiving for you anyways? That is the question of the day. That's really what I have been asking for a long time, actually. But it's like, universe, show me what receiving be for me. Because clearly I got no clue. So
exactly.
Show me. And then it will just start bringing situations and people into your life where, it's going to come up.
It brings a lot of magic into your life when you're willing to receive, because you can have like the same old situation, the same old people that you're used to hanging around with that have all this trauma going on, and instead of just receiving it and knowing that's who that person is and they're gonna choose it, and you just get mad and you like put up these walls and barriers and you try to tell them they shouldn't be that way, or you're just mad at them, or you go silent, like the passive aggressive behavior or whatever it is. It's like, that does that actually feel good? Like, it's like it really, and again, back to the beginning of the conversation, it creates pain in your body, it creates aging, it creates like stress, it creates worry and fear and guilt and all of these things. Is it even yours? Like, is it even yours?
Yeah, that's another question that I've been asking a lot lately, too, is who am I being? Every time, like, we're so entrained to be a certain way, and we're so entrained to say the opposite, and, like, the whole polarity of this reality. If someone says something, you have to refute it kind of thing, and it's like, what if we started not doing that? I wonder what would get created. Good morning, Nicole.
Good morning. It's just that whole, like, what would it be like if all of life could come to me with ease and joy and glory? And it can, and it is a choice. And it's like, but we're so, like, that's just the way it is. Like, that's just the way it's always been. That's just the way you have to be. That's what you're taught to do.
And was it ever you to begin with?
Exactly.
So, great question. Who am I being?
Who are you being? I actually had that as a post-it note in my bathroom for a long time.
It throws a hard wedgie into my side, that question.
It's a good reminder to put up around your house. Because when you find yourself just this automatic reaction, it's like, who am I being? Oh, this isn't me.
Well, and then it helps take you out of judgment, too, because then you're acknowledging, oh, actually, this isn't mine, and I'm not really being me, and so now what can I choose?
How does it get any better? Instead of being like, oh, I'm so wrong, I'm just so mad all the time, and I'm just judging other people. That's another thing. Are your judgments actually yours? If you consider yourself a judgmental person, are you actually judgmental?
Or are you just aware of other people's judgments of themselves? That was one of the coolest things we learned in the foundation, too. Because they always talk about in Access Consciousness, like how humanoids only judge themselves. And I'm thinking to myself, I judge the shit out of people all the time. And it never feels good. And I'm like, oh my God, that isn't actually my judgments. Wow.
That's
weird.
That's a crazy one. So if you guys haven't, the foundation is a class in Access Consciousness, and if you have never taken one, I highly, highly recommend it. You can go on the Access Consciousness website and check out the foundation. and take it. There's like facilitators all around the world, but oh my gosh, it literally...
Be prepared for change.
Because it starts to uncover all of these hidden places. And like I feel like, oh, I know who I am now, and I like know what I'm choosing, and I know that I'm willing to receive here and not there. And then all these other areas, any of those areas that you like won't even look at or go near, it's like, holy, how much is there really truly that you're on? And it's like, it's baby steps. Like,
it is baby steps for sure.
So it's not about ever going into a wrongness of you or judging you for where you are right now and, oh my God, I'm not willing to receive. Who cares if you're not willing to receive it? Like, just start looking at it. You know?
And being honest with yourself. Like, if there is something that you're not willing to receive, congratulate yourself for being honest with yourself, because that's huge too. You're not lying. You're actually admitting, I'm not willing to receive that. And what's so wonderfully right about that?
Exactly. You can't get much more honest than that.
Yeah.
So who am I today, and what grand and glorious adventures will I get on right away, and how much more could I be willing to receive and hopefully not die and blow up from it? I think that's another thing, is you just feel like if you
might die if you put your walls and barriers down.
Exactly. But
that's really a funny concept too, because like when you really think about it, like when you don't want to choose something, and it's like, okay, well, what's the underlying point of view? And it's like, I think I will die. And it's like, but do you really think you're going to die? Like, you realize you're operating from a very strange point of view. I'm like, oh yeah, I guess I won't really die, but...
We're funny little beings.
Yeah.
But what else is truly possible, and what else can we choose? And yeah, I love that. Put on a sticky note. Show me what receiving is to me. Show me what receiving is to me, and then be ready and willing to let down your walls and barriers and just see what shows up in your world. You just might be surprised. And again, we are only 9 days in, I think, in our private group, our 30-day challenge. And so you're more than welcome to join us. We would love
if you would join us. This question has been so fun, and what I'm finding about the weirdness, like how weird can I be today, it's really helping me to step up and choose the opposite of what I normally do. And to me, that is being weird, going against everything you normally do.
Totally.
And it's so much fun.
It is, and it is all about receiving, because you do have to be willing to receive a lot. So, and it's in a group, a private group, and it's just really life-changing. So come and join us.
Yes.
We'll post the link below. And have fun being you today.
Yes.
Because being you really does truly change the world and changes everybody around you.
And when you're being you, you give other people permission to be them. And how does it get any greater than that, really?
Exactly.
And if people are judging you, then just say, you're welcome.
Exactly.
You think I'm an idiot, and that makes you feel better, so you're welcome.
Yeah, you're welcome. Oh, I love it so much. Well, thank you guys for joining us in another week of Wild and Wacky Chit Chats with the twins. And get yourselves outside today and enjoy the beauty of this day. And we will see you on here in another week.
Bye-bye.
Bye.